get stronger and healthier by not going to gyms. First of all, I have to apologize. I've been recalcitrant. I haven't been updating my podcast regularly because I've been so darn busy. But we're all busy. We all have hard lives. But I had to say that because I felt a little bit guilty about it. But here I am. And let's start. For many, many years, I went to gyms. I lifted weights at the YMCA, back in the old days, YMCA, and ran on the streets. Back in those days, there was no other way to have access to heavy weights but the YMCA. It was in a little dingy room down in the basement. I also did some stretching, but it was kind of hit and miss. Those were my younger days. Now, I am in my 66th year. I'm a grandfather 2 times, and I have learned a lot since I started seriously working out in my 20s. In the beginning, I followed the bodybuilding advice of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Frank Zane, who was my hero at the time. Actually, Frank Zane still has what I consider the ideal physique. Not huge, but very symmetrical. Even today, in his 70s, he looks fantastic. Arnold, well, not so much. Frank now works out in his own home gym, which is what I have done for the last 30 years or so. I found that my workouts were much more intense when done on my own in my basement. There were no distractions, and I could do them before work in the early a.m. But my physique, while quite strong over the years, had some shortcomings that just got more and more evident to me over time. My butt and gut. That could be a podcast right there. From heavy squatting got big, too big. Sure, my thighs got bigger too, but they were overshadowed by my butt and my gut. And despite endless leg raises from a bar, along with other ab-resisted exercises, my gut stuck out. And I wasn't fat. In addition, heavy benching actually made my chest too prominent. So a big chest, fat butt, fat gut. Sounds good. Sounds like Marilyn Monroe. I switched to incline presses, which helped that a lot, but my shoulders hurt most of the time, and so did my knees from the squatting. Also, the running took a toll on my body as well, with knees, feet, and hips taking a pounding on a regular basis. I was beating myself up in the name of health. I gradually started to transition in my 50s to what I practice today, and now have learned how to exercise in what I have found to be a very productive, satisfying, and above all, a completely home-based and beneficial manner. I read about body weight exercise, both calisthenics and self-resisted types of exercise, and started to substitute them in more and more over the weights. And I read on a webpage called transformetrics.com by a fellow named John Peterson about what he called the tiger moves, which I prefer to call virtual resistance exercise, since the resistance is generated from within the muscle itself, so it's self-explanatory as it moves through a full range of motion. This last was the key to mastering the bodily physique and to maximize health in an efficient and very safe manner. Not only that, but I can do the majority of the work in my living room with a minimum of equipment while I watch television. Think about that. Instead of going downstairs to my dingy basement, which, while it has a power rack and lots of equipment and weights, I even made weights out of concrete because I didn't have enough resistance in the old days. is still a dingy concrete and part dirt floor basement. Now, I watch Netflix programs while I methodically work through my whole body. And while I certainly push hard, very hard, doing high volumes of leg elevated push-ups and straight back sit-ups on my yoga mat on the floor, I never hurt my joints at all. I come down first thing in the morning. That time works the best for almost everyone. If you want to work out, do it first thing in the morning, or 9 times out of 10, life intervenes and it won't happen. And while the sun is peeking up over the horizon through my living room window, I start into taxing my musculature. I know exactly my routine, since it covers every muscle in my body, including my neck, wrists, and even fingers, in a time-efficient and very satisfying manner. And after doing the virtual resistance exercises over my whole body, from shoulders and arms, legs and chest, down to the biceps, I go to the floor, and this, to me, is key, do a series of stretches mixed with mobility for my ankles and wrists, and even foot massage. To go without stretching is to let your body gradually ossify. So do that. And then I go to isometrics. For whatever reason, this type of exercise, isometrics, has become so maligned over the years that it is pretty much dismissed out of hand by most. And this is very sad, for isometrics are the single most efficient means of building raw strength throughout the body with a very minimal expense of time. If you did nothing but isometrics, you would be very strong, and you would spend about 10 minutes a day max. I use a nylon strap, a moving strap actually, or towing strap, that will resist thousands of pounds of pressure. The expense is very minimal. Actually, I already had mine when I started, so the expense was zero. Perhaps you have a towing strap lying around. If not, they are quite inexpensive. A strap of about 25 feet is perfect. Harbor Freight and Tool, one of my favorite stores, would have them available at any time for a very cheap price. Set it on the floor, stepping in the middle with both feet. Then you can do military presses, upright rows, curls, shoulder extensions, bent rows, and squats, one right after another. No equipment to set up. I like to do, say, the military press at shoulder height with both hands, pressing upwards nearly as hard as I can for about 6 long seconds. Then I pause to rest, then repeat for 7 seconds pushing, rest, and then finally for 8 seconds or longer. I repeat this at the midpoint of the lift and then at the end point. So that's 3 at the start of the movement, 3 at the midpoint, and 3 at the end point. And that is it for the shoulder press. Total time spent, maybe 2 or 3 minutes. But your shoulders will be totally stimulated. Then I go to curls using the same protocol. 3, 3, 3. Then shoulder extensions, bent over row, upright row, and then finally squats. I finish up with the bench press, which is done by holding the strap behind my back and pressing out first close to my chest, then halfway out for 3 times, and then near a complete extension for 3 times. Same protocol as before, making my isometric portion of the workout complete at maybe 10 minutes or so, tops, maybe 12, tops. And my strength musculature is maxed out. Your physique will become very dense from doing this. It's very dense musculature, hard, dense muscles. That's all I can say. Finally, I will do rebounding, meaning bouncing on a rebounder, as I do the first virtual resistance portions through 2 more cycles, starting at the midpoint and for the final cycle of exercises at the end point. This covers every facet of training, from cardio to bodybuilding to one-shot strength, all in a modest investment of time, an enjoyable investment of time, say 30 to 45 minutes total. The main point is that this is not onerous exercise, meaning beating yourself up, something brutal that you only want to get through to get it done. Not at all. This way of exercising is like a moving meditation, kind of relaxing, despite being strenuous in a not overwhelming way. When you are done, you don't feel like falling down or puking. No, you feel great, like you've been scrubbed and massaged inside and out and are maxed out in all fitness parameters, all right in your living room. And you've just seen a hopefully great TV show as you did so. Now, sometimes I substitute push-ups instead of the rebounding, along with sit-ups and Hindu squats. And sometimes I do them all. That's what I did this morning. I just felt great, and I wanted to, I had enough time, and I just wanted to do it all. Often then, in addition, I will go heavy hands walking through the woods, barefoot this time of year, swinging the tiny 5-pound weights for 15 minutes later in the day, just because it feels fantastic. Or I will go into my dingy basement and do sets of push-ups on my gymnastic rings suspended from the rafters. This also goes very easily since the rings make push-ups completely comfortable and infinitely gradable. From legs upraised push-ups to flies standing almost upright. You can do push-ups standing almost upright that if you can't do a push-up, you can do it that way. And you slowly walk backwards and get lower and lower. I will finish up with rows from the rings, along with L-sits on them, along with some pistol squats. The rings make it easy to keep your balance and not harm your knee joints, since you can lean well back, and even some isometric grip and reverse curl exercises in my power rack. And this is how I exercise today. I wish I had known this when I was 26, but at least I do know it now that I'm 66, as do you. Workouts not only do not need to be grueling, they are actually more productive if they are briefer and less taxing of your body's central nervous system. Remember, you need to work out hard, but with knowledge and care. As in proper medicine, so it is in exercise. Above all, do not do harm. Treat me like a fool, treat me mean and cruel, but love me. Break my painful heart, tear me all apart, but love me. But if you ever go, darling, I'll be oh so lonely. I'll be sad and blue, crying over you, dear only one, yeah. I would beg and steal